Hey everybody, Tyler Cruz here, also known as Always Dizzy. I am here with my game or round three game recap from the 2024 Jack Taylor Memorial. Um, if you haven't seen rounds one or two yet, you should watch those first. So, as a quick reminder, in round one, I was paired up against a very underrated 800 opponent, which I won. And then in round two, I was faced up against an 1800 player and lost that. And so here was round three. So this was still day two. And I had just finished my round two game because if you remember, that game was almost 4 hours long. Now, fortunately, my Airbnb was close by, and actually, yeah, I think I went back to my Airbnb and then had a quick lunch. I believe that's what happened. Um, often it can be tricky when you have a long round and then off, like sometimes you only have like 15-20 minutes to find food and eat, and oftentimes where the venues are, there's no food, such as this one. Well, this one, there actually might have been a restaurant nearby, but I didn't recall seeing one, but there might have been one at the venue. But anyways, long story short, I grabbed a quick meal and then got ready for round three. So my opponent was Emilian Holmgren, who I had not played before, despite seeing him around. He plays in a lot of tournaments. He plays in around 11, between 10 to 12 tournaments a year. And he is, I believe, 15 years old. But he looks a little bit older, I think. I thought he was a little bit older, a couple of years older. He has a brother and a dad who often go to the tournaments as well, with him, and he is the strongest of the three by far. A fun little story: I actually played his little brother, 2 or 3 years back. Yeah, maybe about 3 years. Might have even been 4 years ago, but 3 or 4 years ago, I played his little brother in a Blitz side tournament at another tournament in New West, and I was out in the hall talking to somebody else, and I didn't hear that they had started the round. They didn't announce it loud enough. It was kind of chaotic, wasn't organized that well, and then all of a sudden, things kind of got a little bit quiet for a while, and then I suddenly went like, wait a second, like, did they start the round? And I went and I looked, and yeah, the round had started, and then I was scrambling to look for my board because they didn't have it. Again, it was not organized well, and I found the board, and I wasn't even sure. I thought I would just had lost the game because it was a 3+2 time control, and anyways, I got there and I wasn't sure if I should still play or not. But then I looked at the clock, and I think there was like 55 seconds left, something like that. But I sat down and I played, and then his brother, Emilian's brother, I'm not sure how old he was at the time. He was pretty young. He must have been like 8 years old. He had like a little smirk, and he said, I started your clock. And and he seemed like he had a very devious grin on his face, and he was pretty happy that I was probably going to flag. Anyways, long story short, I played the game and I won. But my heart was really pumping there because I did not have much time on the clock. Okay, so yeah, Emilian has improved a lot over the past couple of years, just looking at his rating. And as I mentioned before, he plays in lots of tournaments. He even goes to flies across the country to some tournaments. I think he played in the Canadian Open in Ontario, So he plays in a lot of tournaments, and he seems to be pretty serious about it. I'm going to read my notes here on my screen on my other monitor. Yeah, so I don't know how much I want to give away, so I'm going to skip over that. But it's a little bit of a hint once again. I went into this round after playing that nearly 4-hour game with Peter. Okay, so let's take a look at the first move here. Okay, so my opponent played e4. Wait, this is wrong. Oh my goodness. I was white. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to edit the video, and I'm going to because I got to swap the names and everything around. So I'll be back after I edit this later. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I was white. I was white here, and yeah, okay, sorry. So I played e4, and he played e5. Knight f3. Knight c6. I played bishop e5, the Rory Lopez. He played a6. Bishop a4. And here he played b5 and bishop b3. So all standard fare, right? And then here he played bishop e7, which is an unusual move order in the Roy Lopez. But most moves in the Roy, for black at least, tend to transpose to main lines. There's not really too many subtleties. They all tend to transpose. So I castled here, and he played knight f6, and we have transposed. Rook e1, and he played d6 here. So I've had this position a million times. It's simply the main line of the closed Roy Lopez. If black wants to play the Marshall or something, they can castle here. But this is as main line as it can get, right? And I don't know, I've had multiple. This isn't the first time this has happened to me, but I've had many games throughout my tournament career where I've just simply forgotten theory that I've played a million times before. And I'm chalking that up mostly to my ripe old age, just being old and forgetting. It's embarrassing and a little frightening. I think part of it is maybe just the 3D board, because even though I was a little tired from that long game from round 2, if I was playing this online, like on a 2D board, I'm sure I would not have played what I ended up playing in the game. I don't know. It's a scary and frightening, well, it's a frightening and, yeah, again, embarrassing thing, but haven't. Okay. So I didn't play the move that I would always play here. I played something different. I just didn't, I don't know, my brain was turned off, and I just didn't recognize this as just the main line here. So I played an inaccurate move. It wasn't like a blunder, but it's inaccurate. Just reading my notes here, if there's anything else I wanted to say. No, I said everything. Yeah, so I ended up playing. This is embarrassing, by the way. I didn't really even want to make this video. I just wanted to skip over it because this is just embarrassing. Okay, did this happen to anybody else? Any of you other tournament players? Do you ever just forget like just the most basic theory, or is that just a me thing? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, I played h3. Okay, I didn't want to deal with bishop g4. So I played h3, and but normally I would play c3 here, which is the main line. You play c3 first, and the reason, and I'll show you. So I played h3 in the game, and this is the reason, because he played knight a5. And my opponent was probably wondering what the hell I was doing. Like, this is move 8 in one of the most common openings in chess, and I screwed up. But yeah, this is why h3 is not so great, because black wins the minor exchange here. Black can get the bishop pair, as well as give white double pawns. The double pawns don't matter because white gets the open a file in exchange. But yeah, so now I think it's pretty equal. But if anyone is better, black has like a slight hair of an advantage here. And then to make matters worse, I screwed up again immediately on my next move. Sometimes you're just not feeling it. Like even in a serious tournament game, you're just not there. Your brain is just not there. You're looking at the board, but nothing is going on in your head, and it sucks. Other times you feel quite lucid. Like my rounds 1 and 2, I felt very lucid, but I just wasn't feeling it this game. Anyways, I think the reason behind my next mistake was partly out of disgust from the oversight of my previous move when I played h3. And I think that I may have like subconsciously wanted to act like I had meant h3 all along, that was my master plan, and I had some weird side prep or like sideline or pet line queued up here. And so I played my response here pretty quickly. Not immediately. I thought about it for a little bit, but I played it quicker than I probably should have, because again, I just wanted to make it sound like, oh yeah, knight a5, I'm all prepared for this, right? And while technically from an objective point of view, like from an engine point of view, the move that I end up playing is actually okay. It's only okay if you find the right like follow-up plan, which I hadn't. And what makes this even more terrible, and I'll show you the move. I know I'm talking a lot here, but what makes this even more terrible of a mistake is because the mistake I make is a trap that I've fallen for, that I used to fall for all the time back when I was newer to chess. When I first started getting back into chess as an adult, I fell for this trap every single time. I've literally fallen for this trap more than any other trap, or more than every other trap in chess that I faced combined. Okay, I've fallen for this trap so often, and I did it again here. And that is, and experienced players probably know what I'm going to say, the Noah's Ark trap. I've fallen for this so many times in the past, and I thought I was over it, and I fell for it again. Okay, so, and again, I apologize for, I know I'm talking a lot here, but I played d4. Okay, I just wanted to open up the center and attack, and yeah, because I wanted to get a little bit aggressive here, because I messed up the opening. And I remembered the trap immediately after playing d4. As soon as I played d4, I remembered the trap, and I was like, oh my god. So at least I didn't fall for the trap all the way through. And the problem is, okay, so first of all, my opponent, he took on d4. And for those of you that don't know the Noah's Ark trap, and it doesn't have to be the specific move order, it can be a lot of different move orders. but it usually happens in the Roy Lopez, is white cannot recapture on d4 because of c5, attacking the knight, right? Whoops, did not mean to do that. And then once the knight moves anywhere, then there's c5, or c4, sorry. And then we lose the bishop. I've fallen for this so many times by playing d4. It's so easy to miss. It is so easy to miss. And I've just fallen for that so many times. So anyways, after d4, he took, and then, yeah, I immediately remembered the trap. And so I played the best move here, at least, which was e5. So not taking on d4, but just trying to crack open the center, because black hasn't castled up. We have a rook on e1. So this was definitely the best move. And my opponent played d takes e5. And I went knight takes e5. I considered taking with the rook, but I think black would just castle here, and so it didn't seem that great to me. Yeah, because I'm not sure what I would do as a follow-up there. So I preferred, so I took with the knight, and because also I liked knight c6 threats. We're hitting f7 too, but if black castles, I had like knight c6 threats as well, potentially. So I took with the knight, and my opponent castled. And then I played knight d2. And my idea here was, I think I just wanted to get my knight either to f1 or to f3. I think I actually wanted it on f1, so that this knight could go back to f3 if I needed. I should have put the microphone closer. Yeah. If I needed to, and I didn't move the bishop out first. Can't remember why exactly. Maybe knight d5. But yeah, I played knight d2, and I was going to go to either f3 or f1. But this is a blunder. Knight d2 was a blunder. And there was only one move here for white. Otherwise, every move here is a blunder apart from one move. And white needs to have seen that after playing d4, in order for d4 not to be just a blunder. And that is, sorry, here. Remember, I like this knight c6 idea because, well, we're just going to win in peace. The problem is there's a knight on a5. So it's a very, very simple problem solving here. All we have to do is simply attack this knight. And so I could have just played bishop d2. And it's not winning for white, but this was necessary to have been played. So again, black's knight on a5 can't move because I'm just going to go to c6. So black only has one non-losing move here, which is b4. And actually, I remember now that I'm thinking about this, but I remember in the game, I remember considering bishop b2. I remember thinking about this because I'm like, oh, I would like knight c6, but there's a knight there, so can I attack the knight? And then in my mind, I just said, okay, but he just plays b4. And then I just shut off that line because I'm like, there's no continuation here, right? I can't play knight c6. I can't take the pawn. A3 doesn't seem to do much of anything. right? Because he can just play like, oh, actually, what would he do there? Oh, he takes the bishop, I think. But that was my line of thinking. But it needed to be played because we are down a pawn right now. Like we're down a pawn, and so if I play something else like what I had played, we're just down a pawn here, and we don't have compensation for that pawn. We're simply down a pawn. So I needed to have played bishop d2, and then after b4, this knight is still a bit misplaced. The pawn on b4 is a little bit weak because it's only defended by black's bishop. And knight c6 is still a bit of a threat. And do I have a line here? Yeah, well, I only have one very short variation to show, I think. Yeah, so sorry. I just want to show if black doesn't play b4, like if black takes the knight, I already showed this before, but yeah, knight c6. Still knight c6. Right? Yeah. Okay, so that was necessary here. And then so I needed to have had assessed this position better. Because white is still down a pawn here, and black is supposed to be a hair bit better, I think. Yeah, I believe black is a hair bit better. I don't have the engine on. But it's hard to assess, though, right? I mean, because what's white's plans here? I am going to turn the engine on. I should have had this in my notes, but. Yes, so it's if you're curious, it's about minus 0.2.5, like minus. It's okay. Now it's about like minus 0.3, and it's suggesting moves like bishop g5 or a3, as I had thought about before, a3 and like bishop b7, bishop a2. I don't know. Okay, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here. Engine is off now. Yeah, I don't think that's so easy. Do you guys think that's easy? I don't think that was so easy to conclude that playing bishop d2 is beneficial to white. But yeah, I think positionally it's a little bit weaker now for black. Okay, sorry. Getting back to the game, I played knight d2, and Emilian played bishop b7, and I played knight f3. Completing my knight transfer, and he took on b3. A takes b3, so that my a file is semi-open, and he played c5. Annoying, just grabbing more space and securing his d4 pawn. I played b4 to weaken his pawn structure here. And he played rook e8. And I took on c5. Again, just trying to dismantle that central pawn push that he has going on. He recaptured and played queen d3. And he played queen d5. So it's hard for black not to play well in such a position, just because he's up a pawn. He has the bishop pair. The board is open. And he has better development. So pretty agonizing for me. Yeah, I mean, I felt that it was probably like around minus 1.5, maybe minus 2 for black. That's what I kind of felt. Didn't really know what to play here. I ended up playing bishop g5, which is inaccuracy. The best was bishop f4, which I considered, but then I wasn't sure after. I think it was bishop d6 caused me some pause. But yeah, I went bishop g5. And then my opponent's response shows why bishop g5 was not great. And it was quite a shock to me. Maybe not shock, but it was unpleasant to see. He played knight e4. As simple as it can get. Defensive knight for my bishop, attacks my bishop, but most importantly, it severs the connection between my rook as a defender of my knight on e5, where it is now attacked twice. And yeah, I mean, again, I already knew I was losing. It wasn't, that's not a shock, that wasn't a secret. But this was really like the final nail in the coffin, I felt. And I spent 21 minutes on my reply. I don't even remember spending 21 minutes, but I write my time on my score sheet, and I was looking for some way out. If only I had spent that time earlier before I played h3 and before I played d4. Why am I spending it now after I've made all my mistakes? But yeah, I just couldn't find anything here. I just kept looking for some way out. There's a threat on f6. He's threatening to take my knight on e5. And I can't, yeah. And then there's issues with him taking on g2, like mate threats as well. So I ended up playing bishop h4, which I think was as good as any decent, as any reply I could have played. And he played g5, bishop g3, knight takes g3, which was not the best move, but black is just completely winning. Any move is winning. I recaptured. He played f6, went knight g4, threatening the fork on f6. And then he went king g7. So again, I'm just, not feeling great. I was not happy. So black has a bishop pair. Black's up a pawn. We're under heavy pressure and attack here. We don't have anything good going for us. I considered queen takes h7 because it almost looks like there's something here. Where king takes and we have a fork, and we can regain the queen, but we will have lost the knight for a pawn in that exchange. And then I was looking for a way to continue with that, and then not even take the queen, but then just keep attacking with like the two knights and the rook. But I couldn't see anything. And I didn't want to just play this slowly, because just like, let's say I played something like rook a d1. I just see there's no way we can play this slowly. Black can probably just play like h5 or even f5 maybe. No, f5 might drop maybe even f5 or bring in his own rooks. He's got a million different ways to play here. So I can't just play it slowly. And so I took on f6, which, it was a Hail Mary looking for some miracle. I think it might have scared maybe not scared, but it might have slightly disturbed my opponent, Emilian, a little bit, just because, I don't know, just looking at his reaction. He didn't go like, oh, he didn't do that, nothing like that, but it just, it's not fun to see. I mean, even if you're completely winning and this likely doesn't lead to anything, like if I flip the board, if you look at it from black's perspective and then over the board in a tournament, your opponent makes such a move, that can get a little scary, right? I mean, so anyways, he took it, and I took on h7, and this would be completely winning for white if it wasn't for one small detail here. This bishop on c5. If this bishop was somewhere else, let's say it was on b6, this is completely winning for white. It just lights out. But the bishop is on c5, unfortunately. So my opponent played rook h8. I think the only move. And I played queen c7. So again, if this bishop was somewhere else, like on a7 or b6, I can go queen e7 check, and then my knight comes in as well, and my rook comes in, right? And it's just game over. But his bishop is on c5, so I went queen c7, and I knew I was still losing here. I knew that the bishop defends everything, all my threats from black. But I thought, it's, if black is not careful, I'm still dangerous. I'm very dangerous if black isn't careful. Right? I've got a queen, a knight, and a rook here, and his king is in the middle of the board. So I didn't resign. He went d3, discovered check on my king. King h2. He went rook a c8. Queen a5. Now my queen is not so glamorously placed. He went bishop f2. Not the best move, but every move is completely winning for black. Went rook f1. And then, well, rook takes h3 check. Nicely done. King takes h3. Rook h8. And then I resigned here because it's mate is coming, right? Yeah. So ouch. So that was a humiliating loss. Rightfully so. Like my h3 move, and then my d4 move, and then not playing the bishop d2 move later that I needed to play. That's not easy to play. But the h3 and d4, there's no excuse for that. Like, maybe there's an excuse if I hadn't played that opening a million times, but I had. Yeah, so it's just so frustrating to lose like that, and it's nothing on my opponent. My opponent played well, and he deserved the win. I'm angry at myself. Yeah, just playing the wrong move in an opening you played a million times. Yeah, and then to fall for the Noah's Ark trap again. The mistakes I made later, to me, they don't matter because I was already losing after those first two moves, two mistakes. Yeah, so that was round 3. One of the worst games I think I've played. I don't know. That's a bold statement. I played a lot of tournament games. And I've made a lot of mistakes. So it's not like the worst game I've played, but I think it's one of the worst, just because, again, I played that opening so many times. It's just insane that I played h3 first. I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, so yeah, that was round 3. So after this round, I wasn't feeling too great. So first round, I played against a player who should not have been playing in our section. I beat him, but I gained no points because he's 800. And then I lost round 2, and then I lost round 3. So I was at a net loss of rating here because my opponent was lower rated, 300 lower rated on FIDE and 200 lower rated CFC. So I was going to get hit on both FIDE and CFC after this game. Yeah, so stay tuned for round 4, which I'll have up in another 2 or 3 days from now. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Well, actually, I don't know. Should you enjoy it? Watching me get humiliated like this? Yeah, yeah, it sucks, but that's tournament chess for you, right? Sometimes you're gonna play like a donkey. Um, yeah, it just hurts. It just hurts extra. It just hurts extra when you spend time and money to go to a tournament and then you play like this. If you're just walking outside of your back door to go to the tournament, like most of the players in this tournament, it's not such a huge deal. But yeah, okay. I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time.